Senate President Pro Tempore Jinggoy Estrada says most senators believe they should abide by the Supreme Court's ruling that declared the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte as unconstitutional. An all-senator caucus was held on Tuesday, July 29, where they discussed the unanimous decision of the Supreme Court. The High Tribunal ruled that the one-year ban on filing an impeachment complaint was violated. According to Estrada, 19 to 20 senators want to abide by the High Court's decision. He says this observation is based on the body language and statements of his colleagues, noting it was obvious who they are. Estrada himself believes the Senate should no longer consider the impeachment case against Duterte. He believes the trial should not continue anymore. He says the Senate no longer has jurisdiction since the complaint the House of Representatives filed was deemed unconstitutional. The senator warns of a constitutional crisis if the Senate won't abide by the Supreme Court decision. Estrada says lawmakers should set an example in following the laws. He questions how ordinary citizens can be expected to abide by the rules if the Senate itself refuses to follow the Supreme Court. Reminded of the Senate's sole power to try and decide all cases of impeachment, Estrada maintains they have to follow the High Tribunal. On the other hand, a resolution seeking to appeal the Supreme Court decision is being routed in the Senate. According to Senator Kiko Pangilinan, the draft resolution was already signed by him, Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto, and Senators Risa Hontiveros and Bam Aquino. The Senate is set to vote in the plenary on August 6 on whether or not to abide by the Supreme Court's ruling. A new round of hikes in fuel prices is expected to greet motorists next week. In an advisory on Friday, August 1, Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau Assistant Director Rodela Romero says gasoline prices may have the biggest jump in prices. She projects an increase in gasoline prices at more or less 1 peso and 50 centavos per liter. According to Romero, diesel may also see an increase of more or less 1 peso a liter. Kerosene may be more costly by more or less 80 centavos. Meanwhile, Jetty Petroleum President Leo Bellias says diesel prices may go up by 80 centavos to 1 peso a liter, while gasoline is seen to increase by as much as 1 peso and 70 centavos per liter. Romero says the potential price hikes may be influenced by the renewed concerns over supply disruptions following U.S. President Donald Trump's sanction on Russia and Iranian oil. The potential price hikes for next week will take effect August 5. Fuel retailers adjust pump prices every Tuesday. Pag-asa says the low-pressure area being monitored with a high chance of developing into a tropical cyclone may enter the Philippine area of responsibility and become the first cyclone in the country this August. As of 8 a.m., Pag-asa says the LPA was spotted 1,225 kilometers east-northeast of extreme northern Luzon. The agency notes the LPA may become a tropical depression in 24 hours. While it remains far from the country's landmass, Pag-asa says it is located on the boundary or close to PAR. The State Weather Bureau says the weather disturbance may briefly enter PAR and then exit toward the northeast, moving away from the country. If the LPA becomes a cyclone and enters PAR, it will be named Fabian. Fabian will be the first cyclone for August and the sixth for 2025. The LPA currently has no direct effect on any part of the country except for the possibility of enhancing the southwest monsoon or habagat. The Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation and Detection Group is set to submit additional pieces of evidence to the Department of Justice in the case of the abducted sabungeros. Over a radio interview on Friday, August 1, PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Jean Fajardo says the new evidence is expected to meet the requirement of reasonable certainty of conviction. She specifies that one of the pieces of evidence to be submitted is the affidavit or the extrajudicial confession of Julie Patidongan, naming other personalities. Patidongan is the whistleblower who claimed the sabungeros were killed and thrown into Taal Lake with the involvement of police officers at the behest of gaming tycoon Atong Ang. The PNP announced on Thursday, July 31 that it took into custody two of Patidongan's brothers, whom investigators believe to be the missing link to resolving the case. Fajardo says they expect the DOJ to issue a resolution to file the corresponding information against the persons previously named. Fajardo declines to disclose whether or not Ang will be named in the new pieces of evidence. For his part, Ang has denied Patidongan's claim that he was the mastermind behind the abductions. Ang also accused the whistleblower of trying to extort 300 million pesos from him to avoid being implicated in the case. At least 34 sabungeros went missing between April 2021 and January 2022.